I'm going to give it just a few minutes to load and send out notifications because I know that it's slow and everything. I know that after I left the Boomathon stream last night in the manner I left, I know a lot of y'all are like, what the crap happened? What the crap happened? So I thought we would talk about that for a minute. Boy, I look horrendous this morning. Listen, it's been a rough night. Okay? It's been a rough night. So I'll give it a minute and let a few people get in here. I'm working on a Kiss Your Butt frog for Jane or Janie. It's all one, so I can't see where the first name starts and last name, or first name stops and last name starts. So it's part of it's sitting behind me. It's a body and one eyeball at this time. So I know that a lot of y'all were tuned into Boomathon last night to see Sabrina and Boom and me. And y'all know, if y'all watched from the very beginning, right before we went live, as he was actually clicking on the thing to enter and start the whole process, there was a huge military chopper go over my house. Still not crazy. I remember your name now, y'all. You love your butt crack frog. I'm making another one for Jane or Janie. I don't know where it's because her name's all one thing, and I'm not going to say the last name, but I don't know which is her first and last. So it's either Jane or Janie. And if anybody else wants to kiss your butt frog, while I've got the yarn, I've got enough yarn in for a few more. You can go to David's Etsy and just message and say, I want to kiss your butt frog. And what he'll do is he'll tell me. And when I get it made, he will just message you and throw up an ad on Etsy and you can purchase it. I'll let a couple more people get in here. So right as we were starting to go live, a military, and it was a military Chinook that went over because they sound much different, as you know. And over the next several minutes, it felt like a pressure came down on me. And if you see me several times throughout the live, I'm actually leaning over or turning my head toward where Luna is in her kennel, because I kenneled her last night, hoping she would rest while I was live, because we'd had a really good day. It was pretty here yesterday, and she had played outside, and I mean, we just had a really great day. And so I did not anticipate any problems. It had been quite a while since she had had a seizure, but I was not anticipating any problems because her health had been predominantly really well, and she had not given me any indications that we were kind of getting near one. A sluggish consistency to her day and some like aura looking movements where she's like she sees something that's not there. So I wasn't anticipating anything. And but I started to get a little bit of a headache after a helicopter went through, but I didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to go on and do the live stream because I really enjoy being there. And I really had something that I really wanted to talk about that could possibly explain why some of the behaviors we see coming from people are the way they are, and how those behaviors have been shaped and cultivated and curated. And I was having a really hard time talking about it because I was trying to pay attention to the pressure I was feeling and listening to Luna's breathing, which had changed since we had gone live. And so I was having a really hard time just trying to function. I felt really bad because I was like, I'm not doing a good job of talking through this because I can't focus on what I'm saying. And sure enough, at a certain moment, she went into seizure, and I heard the breaths coming first, so I knew it was coming. And when I got off the stream, and by the time I rounded the corner, she had gone into seizure. and I got to her, and it was it hit very hard. It lasted about medium length. It wasn't like, any super longer or shorter than any of the other ones. But normally she just has a normal seizure face on when she goes into a seizure. This time she wore a what the crap face, which, if you know anything about seizures, normally a lot of people aren't aware, or at least not, hyper aware when they're in them. And she normally is not. It's just like she wakes up from a nap and goes, well, that was weird, and has to kind of reacclimate herself. And but she had on a full what the crap face while she was actively in this seizure last night. And I stayed with her. It didn't last super long, but she kept like having small seizures afterwards. And so we just sat really quiet, really still. And bless her heart, she made a mess of herself during the seizure. And so after she got to feeling better, we had to, clean up all that and have a salon party. And that was stressful on both of us because we were both at that time not feeling well. And at that time, I had left my iPad playing just so I could hear in the background the stream. And she's over there rolling on the couch, just rolling. She's feeling good this morning. She's just tired. But I left my iPad on, and after all of that, I came up, and because I was listening to it echo through the house while I was taking care of her. And I came up and looked at my iPad, and it was like 1% flashing. And I was like, that is so strange, because it was fully charged. And I go to grab a little flashlight. It's still down here charging again, because I knew if she went into seizure mode throughout the night like she normally does, I would need my little ambient flashlight to take care of her so I didn't disturb her eyesight and wake up David when I was going through the house. And so I was trying to plug that up, and the charger wouldn't work. But I knew the charger worked that morning because I had plugged up my little kitchen candle lamp and charged it. And it's not like a USB-C, or it's one of those old school ones that's just a little bit wider than the other ones. 3 of those wide ones in my house were non-functioning after all this occurred. For about 3 or 4 hours, my iPad would not charge. I was plugging it up, and it would still say 1%, and it would threaten to close down every 5 seconds. And I just finally turned it off and went to bed. And I was like, I don't understand this, but I just kind of focused on Luna, and I was feeling very, 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 very tired at that point. And I was like, I'm just going to go to bed. And I just listened to her very closely all night. And she did fine all night. She's good this morning. She's just tired. And but what was really funny was when David finally got home from work, he was late coming in, and we were in the midpoint of cleaning her up at that point. And he's like, "What happened?" And I said, "She had a seizure." And he said, "Did you hear all the helicopters?" And I said, "I heard one military." He said, and I said, "Then I heard some other stuff, but I couldn't make out what it was." And he said there was, a military one come through, but he said there were 3 medevac choppers called in. And that's like all that our area has. Apparently, around the time that all that went haywire, there was a massive wreck in my area. There was like a brawl that erupted because of the wreck. All the ambulances and all the helicopters were consumed. We do not have an ER. We just have a triage station. They were trying to triage the people and get them flown out. Families were trying to find a place to park next to this minuscule triage facility. Town got absolutely, I guess, full, and that's really strange for our town because it's normally dead by the time David gets off work. He was late coming home because it was just mass chaos, and the lights were taking longer, and he said, I was just trying to be careful because it seemed like people were just running amok. They have not switched our scanners on in the area to where you can't hear them yet. I know they will eventually, but we're always behind, so they haven't done that here yet. They were being very tight-lipped about what was going on, to the point where they were not even using the appropriate codes to dispatch. They were using like cryptic messages, and I was like, well, that's strange. So still don't really know to what extent, what happened. But it went down. And all night last night, we had power hiccups, which does not, our power go out somewhat easily, but it goes out, stays out, it doesn't hiccup, and and finally around 3:30 this morning, my iPad decided it would charge. All the other chargers are still dead. I threw them away. They're not functioning, so I'm gonna have to get some more because I do my little night light, torch light, and my stove lights with. That's the ones I charge those with. So I'm gonna have to get new ones. It was just very strange. It was just a very strange thing. And of course, it was full moon last night. It was so bright that, you could have driven at 3 o'clock this morning without any headlights. It was just so bright. And I don't know, it was just a very strange thing. I was exhausted afterwards. I tried to pop into the chat and let you know, she was okay. And I was just going to stay with her and focus on her because we had so much cleanup to do. And she was just so scared after everything. But I was just tired. And I still do not know what exactly occurred with the wreck and all the people getting their panties in a wad over all of that. But it was just a very strange evening. And then this morning I walked into the kitchen to start the coffee maker and the electricity went off again. So at this point I was just like, really? Luna May? No, ma'am. After she has a seizure, she has to go through the house and look at everything again. So she has to re-coordinate and say hi to everything again. You want to tell them you're okay? Oh my God, you're fat. I mean, I'm fat too, but you don't have to pick me up. See, I'm okay. See, it was a wild night, y'all. It was a wild night, man. It was a bad one. It was scary. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was scary, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Oh, you're so full. So the power blipped off again this morning. And it's just really strange. It's just really strange. Now, you go sit. You go sit down on your bed. You go sit down on your bed. No, we were just outside. We're not going back outside. It's like having a toddler. And after a seizure, she has to relearn everything. It's just very strange. So Sabrina was talking about the Barnaby Jack thing. I wanted to talk about this. Okay, so I've had migraines since I was like 8 years old. My maternal grandfather passed away from a spider web brain cancer. One of the worst this area had seen at that time. And so when I started having these bad migraines, they started really monitoring me closely, thinking, oh Lord, she's, got a predisposition to a possible cancer. And so they watched me very closely. They never could figure out where these were coming from. Of course, now we know I had that genetic predisposition to this disorder that I have that presented after some trauma that I went through due to a work injury. But I've always known about my energy and my biofield. I've just always recognized it because I worked with livestock. I trained horses. I halter broke show cattle. So I was constantly using energy as communication techniques with livestock, and also hyper aware of how my energy affected everything I was around, because that's how you communicate with everything on the farm. Luna, sit down. You're going to get in trouble. Go sit down. You're going to get in trouble. When I get on line and start talking, she takes it as a time to go prowl and see what she can get into. So we have to be careful, especially after a seizure episode, because she's extra toddler mode after a seizure episode. So, Luna May, sit. Luna's chair. Go. Luna's chair. Thank you. Good girl. Sit. You stay calm today. We're not doing that again today. That was too much on me last night. So I've always been super sensitive, and I've known that your energy is a way to communicate. I've always had migraines and been very sensitive to barometric pressure, energy changes, high emotions, stuff like that. And so I've not known exactly what it was, but I've known that I'm using this thing. I just didn't know exactly what to call it, but I was very aware. And so when Sabrina started putting, the logic to what I knew I had been using my whole life, it was like, oh, duh, okay, duh. But I wanted to tell you something because Sabrina was talking about the Barnaby Jack thing. My granny said that I was like my papa's people. I would have dreams and then be in a state of absolute fear because many times the things that I dreamed would occur. I dreamed when I was like in middle school that I was trapped in a house fire, but I was trying to get other people out, and I didn't care about me, but I couldn't get the other people out. And I was just in a state because I was battling flames, but I could not get them out. And I woke up in such a fit that I had to go sit at the kitchen table and sip on water. And my parents woke up, and it concerned them. Because I would do stuff like that often and it would trouble me, it would bother me. And, I understand that it concerned them as parents, but I don't think they really always understood it from my perspective. Now, my granny one time told me, oh, well, you're like your papa's people, but she wouldn't elaborate because Papa died when I was 10 months old. And Granny just really never spoke of him because it hurt her so much. She missed him so much the rest of her life. She would never talk about him, just hushed in reverent tones because it just hurt her so much to think about him. And so that's all I got. And nobody ever elaborated or told me what that meant until Mom made a new friend about a year and a half ago. And I was down there one day when she came over to visit, and she was talking. And she said that my papa, who was an engineer on the railroad, he ran from Indiana to Tennessee back and forth on the railway. He had left Tennessee to go to Indiana to work and run the railway. And he had gotten up there and said, I'm sorry, something's wrong. I've got to turn around and go home, and left. Well, at that time in Tennessee, my granny had got a phone call from his family saying his father is gravely ill. He needs to come home from work. And so Granny called up to the railway office in Indiana. She said, you need to get my husband. His name was Dolphin. They called him Dop. She said, you need to get Dop and tell him he needs to come home. His dad's really sick. And they said, oh, he got here and immediately turned around and said, I've got to go home. Something's wrong. And they said he must have called somebody or, stopped at, placed a call or checked on something. And Granny was like, no. So Papa got in just about the time his father died, and he walked in the house and looked at my granny, and he said, my dad passed away. And Granny goes, no, he's really sick. And about that time, the phone rang, and it was his brother, and his brother said, Dad just passed away. And Mom told her that story, and it clicked for me, and I went, oh my gosh. Mom goes, what? And I said, that's what Granny meant. I'm like Papa's people. And Mom was like, oh my gosh. Now, she had never thought about that until that moment for some reason. It made all the sense in the world to me because I will have nights where I feel very strange, and I will want the 12 gauge and several other lines of ammunition placed specifically in strategic areas, and I won't go to sleep until I know that they're there. And normally when I wake up the next morning, something horrendous will have happened somewhere in the area. Not necessarily to me or like a break-in or murder, but like I did that one night and I was like, something bad, man. And David we hadn't been married long, and he was kind of frustrated with me. And I was like, put the shotgun right beside the bed tonight. And he was like, why? And I was like, just do it. And he was kind of like, oh, you're being weird. And I was like, I don't care, do it. I said, something's off, something's wrong. The next morning we got up and there had been a plane crash. When people tried to fly around or over the plateau in certain weather, they don't always see some of the higher areas, and they get into the fog drifts and they crash. And we have a lot of small plane crashes here, and it's really horrible because we have a very small rescue squad, and then they have to go and recover the bodies, and it's a big just trauma thing for the entire county. And David used to be on the rescue squad, so he has done a lot of this too. And the next morning we got up and there had been a plane crash and everyone had passed away, and they were actively trying to relocate all the pieces so that the families could have what they could find back. So that's when David first started paying attention to me. And I've done stuff like that several times. And I don't really know why I feel bad. I don't really know what's going on. I just know something's off energetically. Something's off, and I feel exposed or almost betrayed in a way. And I know that my hackles are up. No, you're not getting the frog eye. No, that goes on Mr. Frog. Go sit down. Go. I'll put you up. You got to go sit down. You're going to be quiet today. And so the last time that I had a really profound thing that like this that bothered me was for 3 days. For 3 entire days, I kept telling David, I said, somebody needs my help, but I don't know what's going on. I said, I just feel like somebody's needing my help. Somebody needs me. I'm supposed to help somebody. I don't know what's going on. And for 3 days, I was just distraught. And he was like, well, somebody's sick. And I said, I don't know what it is. I said, I just profoundly feel like I'm supposed to be hiking out to find somebody, help somebody. And I said, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, maybe you're just, fixing to have a migraine and you don't feel very well. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't sleep. I felt bad. I was just kind of wigged out by the entire experience. And right before David left for work, and this is when he worked a different job, and he left at about 12 to go to work. About a half hour before he left to go to work, I went, huh? He goes, what? I said, it's gone. He goes, what's gone? I said, that feeling I've had for 3 days. I said, it's gone. And he goes, it's gone? I said, it's gone. I said, I feel fine now. I said, I haven't got a clue. I don't know. He left to go to work and was just about a mile down the road and saw all the rescue squad vehicles and the sheriff's vehicles pulled into one of the distant neighbors' houses. So he pulled in because he used to be a member of the rescue squad. He pulled in. And one of the guys, David, he said, do you need me to call into work and help out? And the guy's like, no, we've got it under control. It's just a recovery issue at this point. And David said, do you mind if I ask what happened? And the guy said, well, from what we can see, about 3 days ago, this man, an elderly man, had gone out to the garage to try to uncover his vehicle, probably to start it and go to town. It had disengaged and rolled and pinned him against his garage wall and crushed him. And he had died very slowly. And David was like, oh my gosh. And David said, when did y'all get on the scene and find him? And they said, oh, about a half hour ago. And David called me and he said, I know what you were feeling. And he told me, and I said, you're kidding me. And he goes, nope. And I said, man, I wish I had got a blurb with these feelings that said, go a mile up the road and you're going to find something. I don't understand. I just feel really bad. I know something's wrong. So that one was the closest one that was the kicker that really bothered me a lot. And I've lost some of the kids that I worked with in wilderness boot camps in very tragic ways where they've chosen to not continue and have had some very strong dreams. I was off for knee surgery. And there was a young man coming up at the end of his grant, and they were trying to see if they wanted to get a new grant or let him go home and fill the slot with another student. And I had said, no, he needs to stay here because he has demons we've not even began to process yet. I said, he's just now starting to open up to us. And they had decided that they could get a private kid and make more money, so they were going to get a private kid. I became very irate at that point because money was not, you're going to get in trouble. Go sit down. Go sit down, Luna's chair. And I said, this boy needs us more than y'all need the money. But they decided to go with a private. And I had to leave to go for knee surgery because of the injury I had. And I was at home. Hang on, there's something going on. Okay, I'm not amused. Luna, sit. Sit down and behave. Okay. Y'all, did y'all hear something in the background start and then I stop? I've got a spin brush on a big pole that I scrub my shower with. You have to push and hold the button to turn it on. It has three. You have to push it through 3 layers to get to the high speed. It was on the high speed. It just started going on the high speed. I turned it off. I just had to push it once, so it had been pushed twice. Getting mildly annoyed. So anyway, yeah, things have not been quite right around here for the last few hours. I'm so glad I went live and y'all saw that. Okay, yeah. Been some electrical anomalies occur. It wasn't plugged up. It charges and then I just use it till it is not charged anymore. And I used it last night to scrub the tub after Luna had her seizure, and it was about dead, and I just left it in the tub to drain and dry, and it turned itself on, but it went through 2 levels, 2 speeds to get to the high speed, because when I pushed it, I just had to push it once to turn it off. Yeah. And everybody's like, are you scared? Oh. I'm getting a little annoyed. Did y'all see that? Am I concerned? No, I'm covered in the blood of Christ. I'm good. I am annoyed. We'll just I am annoyed. We'll say that. But you just got to keep going and just be like, that's rude. Excuse you. So anyway, yes. Things like this happen to me all the time. And I'm glad I decided to open up and tell y'all, because y'all have witnessed all of this crap. But the boy that I had the dream about, I was off on surgical leave, and I had not had any communication with camp. I do know that he was scheduled to leave while I was off on surgical leave. And I went to bed one night, and I woke up sobbing, and my husband was like, what's wrong? And I said, I had the most vivid dream. And he said, what was it about? And I said, well, the boy that I've been specifically worried about at camp. And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, I had met up with him on a railway, and next to the railway was a fairground that was shut down, and nobody was there. But he said, look how pretty it is. And he asked me to climb up on a building to see the view. And I was like, listen, this fat girl with a bad knee is not going to climb up. And he laughed. And then boom, I was up on top of this building with him. And it was a very beautiful view. There was a big Ferris wheel. And it was just kind of a foggy, hazy moonlit night. And he asked for a hat that I always wore. And I was like, you can't have my hat. I said, I've told you the whole time that I've worked with you. You can't have my hat. And it was a hat I'd had for like 12 years. And he laughed and he said, oh, okay, fine. And I said, what's this about? And he said, well, I just wanted to say goodbye. And I said, yeah, I know they're going to let you go home. I don't want you to go home. And he said, I've already gone home. And I said, what? And he said, thank you, Mom Liz. And leaned over and gave me a little kiss on the cheek. And then I woke up. And I knew at that moment that in the dream, it meant that he was no longer with us. And I was very distraught when I woke up, and it didn't make sense. And I just passed it off as knee surgery, anesthesia, whacked out dream, And I got an email a couple of days later, and they didn't even call to tell me. They just sent an email, mass email out. And I didn't open the email because the subject line basically said, tragic death of, and had the boy's name. And I didn't open it. I couldn't. I wasn't brave enough at that point, and I was still on medical leave, and I was not in a good place. And due to the injury and the other surgeries I had to have, I was hiking like 9 to 10 miles a day at that job, I had decided to go ahead and look for something else. But I had to do like 10 minutes of physical therapy before I could even work anywhere else. So I was in limbo land for a while, but it took me a couple, 3 months. And I was actually up at I was up with my mom in her classroom, and she had took a break. We were cleaning the classroom and reconfigure. She loved to reconfigure her desks and stuff. And I said, "Can I check my email on your computer?" She goes, "Yeah." I sat down. She went to do something in the copy room. She went and got something she was going to put on the wall or something. And I went and I was brave enough to click on that email. And when it did, I had a moment of holy crap, Elizabeth, holy crap, because I read it and it said that in his town, at the fairgrounds, which was located directly beside the railway, in the middle of the night, he had planned and stepped in front of the train that came through and left um, messages for his friends and family that he had just been through enough. And that one got me bad. And the funny thing is that hat that I'd had for like 12 years, it took missing it, and I've still not ever found it. So I think he took it. But I still have never found it. I don't know where it ended up. It just blipped off the radar and I never saw it again. What year was that? That was somewhere between 2004, 2006, somewhere in there. Yeah, maybe even 2007. Oh gosh, listen, we're getting 20 years back in my brain. It was right before I did the AmeriCorps literacy program. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So that kind of ruined my day that day, but it also gave me clarity that, well, I probably, there's no way I could have made that dream up and been right about so many things. There's no way. And, it's not normal for a mechanical thing to go on in the bathroom by itself either. I mean, you have to go turn it off and it's been pushed through 2 levels, and then I sit down and start talking about it and my lights start blinking. It's just not normal. But these things happen to me a lot. When my granny said that I was like my papa's people, I assume now, since mom told that one story and I made the link, that apparently this is what my granny meant. And it's not something that I per se dabble in. I don't understand it. I know sometimes that I feel things that are not necessarily because of me, and I try to make sense of it, but I very rarely can until after the event. And but I am like hyper aware of other people's emotions and their intent, their motive, and I think that's why I was so good at my job as a parole officer. But I had a really bad night last night, and it reminded me of a lot of those nights where I felt just really off and something was really wrong and I didn't know about it till later. But other than the wreck and stuff that happened here and all that, I don't have anything else to know that might have affected me. But we'll just say it's just been a really weird last 12 to 20 hours around here. We'll just say that. I'm reading the other processes that yins are going through, and yeah, I think by the 5th they were supposed to have a partial funding. I know that a lot of churches here have basically they load up totes and just leave them on the porch of the church, and people come through and get them as they need it. That's what is happening in my area. Of course, we're in remote Appalachia, and we're used to taking care of our own anyway, so it's not a big stretch for us to just have to pick it up and deal with it because the government sucks anyway. Luna, you're being a Velcro dog today, and I'm having enough issues today. Okay, so we're gonna have to pick who's gonna have the issue today because I think mine's gonna win. Yesterday was your day. Let me have one, okay? Yeah, I know that you feel something's off. I do too. So anyway, yeah, it's just I wanted to say that because a lot of people will say, they'll go, oh, well, once they start talking about something like that, I'm out because that crosses a line. I say I've never dabbled in all of that, and I don't try to work with it and make it a prominent thing that I do because I really believe that it's a negative thing. I really believe it because it just sucks your energy and your vitality. And so I just believe it's a negative thing. So it's not been anything I've been tickled pink about, happening to me or anything that I'm curious about learning more about. No, thank you. I would just, if I'm going to get a vibe that somebody needs my help, could I get like a geolocator? That would be great. Other than that, I just really am like, I don't like this. So it's not anything I enjoy, but it is something that I think if you're hyper aware of your senses and your biofield and your energy flow and how it reacts with other people and other people's biofield and energy flow, I think you pick up on these things. And me being hypersensitive from a young age with this genetic issue lying underweight to pronounce with this disorder and having the migraines and a prominent medical history of some very weird disorders in my family and everything that's happened to me and the whole time my entire life I've used my energy field to work with the animals and stuff I've worked with. Maybe I was just already sensitive, and then when I got this disorder that pronounced, maybe it just made me super sensitive. So that's all I can try to explain away in my head and make sense of it, because otherwise it just baffles me, and I don't want to linger on it because it's just counterproductive to linger on it. But I wanted to come on here and say, when we all experience stuff like that, a lot of people just do not want to talk about it. And I understand, but I also understand that energetically, there are things that are always going to happen that we don't understand. And sometimes it's nice to talk about them just so we don't feel so alone. Now, did you hear that? I heard it too, Luna. Something thumped or fell. Now she's looking all through the house to see what it was. Anyway, my house is being strange today. And I had a very weird night, and Luna had a seizure out of nowhere. And it was a rough night in this. I know you're bigged out. It was a very rough night in this county for a lot of families. A lot of trauma occurred here last night. So it's just weird. Yeah, you heard it too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go investigate. My dog's freaked out. You're okay. You're okay. It's just like Morse code that I can't figure out. Okay. Yeah, you're okay. It's just been a weird time slot. I'm glad that I've been able to catch a few things on the camera for you. And like I said, no, I'm not worried. I'm covered in the blood of Christ. Nothing's going to bother me. They can mildly annoy me, and it irritates me. But at what I probably will do, we'll walk through the house and pray, and as Sabrina says, the shield and block, and I do what I call an energy bump when I pray, and I've always done it. I've never known it was biofield. It's just a projection of my prayer and my desire that I want to occur. I want something to leave me be, or I want to send good out into the world, or I've always done that. So I'll walk through the house and I'll do that. But it's just been a strange little bit, and I just wanted to share, and I'm glad I did, because now it's still stuff happening. I'll deal with it and go on. That's just what you got to do, y'all. I know that music thing cracked me up. It was funny. So kind of him to make me look so skinny. All right, thanks for popping in. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's very it's a very individual thing, because everybody's cellular structure is different, and is that therefore everyone's going to process and filter and send out differently. And I think that's why I understood what they were saying about the targeted individuals. I think we're all targeted because it's a blanket. It's all honest. We're all We're all being used, whether we know it or not. But the ones that are hypersensitive, we almost feel attacked by it sometimes, and that's why we feel like super targeted. And I don't want to make them feel less because it's happening to everybody. Yes, but you're probably hypersensitive and you feel it more often, and that's why you feel extra targeted. And I understand that because today I'm feeling that way. So, all right, Luna's freaking out. I'm gonna go see what that noise was and just walk through the house and be I'm gonna try to be a bully for a minute and be like, listen, I need to sleep. You need to leave me alone. Leave my you don't belong here, and get your butt out. Pack it up. If anything else happens, I'll do a post or something. Oh, Annette, Lord have mercy. I just know it's a very strange time in our nation and everyone's life right now. And that energy is being projected for a reason. And anytime you want me to feel something, I'm not going to. I'm going to wonder what you're up to, back away slowly and monitor. And then I'm going to make the best decision for me. And that's why I don't react when a lot of this stuff occurs. I just go shut things off, or I'm like, you're irritating me, and I just don't have a huge, big reaction to it. Luna. So that's where we are. That's what I'm going to do. She is wigged out. But I'm going to go check the house now, and if something happens, I'll post. And y'all just, just be aware of, they want you to feel, they want you to choose comfort over consciousness. And while it may be appealing at times, it is never the path to victory. Okay, it's never the path to victory. So always choose consciousness over comfort. And I'm afraid our last generations are so far gone into comfort that they're never going to be able to regain their consciousness. And it bothers me. And we just need to talk about it. We just need to say, hey, something, some days you feel really bad when you're aware and you're living a real life. But even the bad days are much better than days where you don't know if your behaviors and emotions or feelings are yours or something that's being algorithmically fed to you so that it would propagate in your life. So I agree. Boomin needs a sponsor. I agree. He's doing some good work, and yeah, he has the skill. He has a skill level far beyond me with this stuff, and definitely needs some people backing him to project his work even more. So okay, well I'm gonna go. Stay conscious. You can have a comfortable day, and be conscious, but don't become numb zombie because you're too scared to be aware. Being aware does not mean you have to be hyper emotional. Being aware just means you need to be awake and see. You don't have to react to what you see. You don't have to choose to orchestrate or try to navigate or manipulate what you see. You just need to be an active participant in your life and learn to deal with the repercussions, but also learn to enjoy the very real moments that gives you. And it's worth the struggle, and it's worth the effort to be aware. He needs a whole team. He needs a whole team. He does. He needs a whole team. And I believe he'll get there. I believe he will get there. Okay, I'm going to call it quits and go through and pray and make a couple of phone calls and check on a couple of people. And then I'm going to try to get some rest because Luna and I have had a very exhausting night. But I just wanted to come on and say I was struggling last night to get my words out because of everything that was going on. And as you can see from what we've got today, it's still occurring. Don't worry about me. Okay. This is, this happens in my world a lot. And then when I figure out what the link is, I'll let you know. Normally there's a reason, and I don't know it until after. I wish, if I was going to be given a gift, it would be like a really clear one, but apparently not. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a gift. But I just kind of don't deal with it. I just kind of go to prayer, and I figure if it's something that the Lord is working with, then he'll ring my noggin and make me know later, So I just kind of go about my day. I'm not a highly reactive person, unless you physically get in my bubble. So I'm glowing. I'm tired. All right, y'all, have a good day. Find something to be joyous about. Find something that motivates you and makes you smile. And toss up some prayers, especially for Luna. She's so tired and she's so kind of disoriented today. And it may still be that whatever irritated her is still occurring, apparently. But, you know, we're just going to put our nose down and get through it. That's all you can do. That's all, that's all you can do. I used to be Why'd You Lie. I've changed a whole lot. I've changed a whole lot. Okay, thank y'all for joining in. Thank you guys for watching the Boomer stream. If you want to kiss your butt frog, go leave David a message on Etsy and he'll let me know. I'll make them till I have to reorder yarn. We'll see how many people want. His Etsy store is Hillbilly Heart Decor. And you can just send him a message and say, I would like a kiss your butt frog. And what he'll do is he'll tell me, I'll crochet it, and he'll throw up an ad so you can purchase it, so that, because it's a secure purchase for you on Etsy, and then we'll get it shipped out. I don't mind to make them. As long as I can find the yarn that everybody likes, I don't mind to make them. Keeps me busy. So, and also had somebody buy one of my wooden bead garlands with the wolf thing that I made. It's really nice when I see the stuff that I craft sell, because it makes me feel like I've done something positive for David, because I know I deplete his resources because I need to craft and create. And sometimes that means, you know, a trip to the craft store or the yarn store, or, you know, and so it's nice to know that I can at least help him regenerate some funds. Also, there are 3 possums in his store, and if you want that possum trans-possumismed, you can just send him a message and say, I want to purchase a possum, but can she do this? And if I can do it, he'll say, yes, you can do that. And then if you want to purchase it, you can just purchase, and I'll give it a 5th leg. I'll give it a 2nd tail. I'll give it 3 eyes, what, you know, however you want it to be trans-possumified. So I thought that would be a cute thing to do. And the Bjorn cat is going to be giant. And that's why I'm only going to offer one of those, because it's going to be like a 3-day make and a lot of yarn. And by the time I do the safety eyes, do y'all hear that again? Hang on. Let me just take y'all with me. Let me just take y'all. I'm going to go to my little house. Hang on. Come on, let's just go. Let's just go down my little hallway into my poor bathroom. I had to push it twice that time. I don't understand. I don't. Oh, by the way, I have a cute bathroom. It's decked out in bears. Bears. There's even a bear rug on the floor. Bears. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't have. Luna's like, I don't want to be back there, man. I don't want to be back there. It's okay. I killed it. It's okay. I'm the big bee in this house. Anyway, I can't like take batteries out of that because it just is going to do that till it's charged. I may just have to pick it up and put it in a bucket and put it in the bedroom so I can reach over and push it off when it comes on, because I plan on taking a nap. Casper taking a shower. Well, if you clean it, that'll be fine instead of just creating issues. Why are you standing way over there? It's okay. It's okay. My poor dog. Okay. Well, that was an experience again, wasn't it? If it happens again, I'll let you know. But anyway, I'm only going to do one of the Bjorns because that's like a 3-day make. And it's a lot of expensive yarn because it's that burnout yarn. And the safety eyes and the embroidery on the face and stuff. It's a big undertaking. So actually, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to a couple of people, but I'm not super concerned. I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to nap with this going on, so it's just going to have to stop. So that's where I'm at today, y'all. I'm glad we caught that again. So yay. And I'm just going to take it minute by minute today and see what we get into. So anyway, the Etsy store is Hillbilly Heart Decor. If y'all are interested, pick a possum, ask me, can she do this to it? And I'll tell them yes or no, and then you can purchase it or not. I don't think I'm going to have time to do very much more crocheting except for frogs beyond that, because we've got the Grinch Miss thing in December, and then I've got stuff I've got to do for my grandbabies for Christmas. So it's just going to be super busy time for me. But I do want to, the Kiss Your Butt frogs, I can whip it fairly quickly. And the possums that I have done in his Etsy shop, that's probably it until the turn of the year. So it is a crazy world. My house is joining in today for some reason. So I'm going to calm it down and take a moment and have some good talks with the Lord and get my house in order. And then I'm going to take my nap. By golly, I'm getting one because I need one. So that's where I'm at. So y'all send up some good energy and some prayers for me, just because it's Luna. What are you doing? She was doing that funny look again. We're not having another seizure. We're not having another seizure. So stop it, okay? Okay. I'm going to go take care of her. It's just today's going to be another off day. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for everything. You don't know the blessings that y'all are to me. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'll try to revisit the Boomer stream as soon as things calm down. Bye, guys. Weird day. It's going to be a weird day. It's going to be a weird day, Lou.